Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, and today we are going to talk about what I think might be one of the most important practices that I think will become necessary as we move forward into this new age that we are entering. So, as you know, if you watch the channel, I have uploaded a couple of different videos having to do with a new shamanic journey meditation course that you can find here at thunderwizard.com. If you're already subscribed to the Lightning Qigong, you already have access to this. And interdimensional shamanic journey is something that I would not have believed was possible just a year ago. If you had started talking to me about it, I would have said that you were high, or you were making stuff up, or you were just lost in, delusion. And I think that there's some reason for me to have believed that. And the reason is that we are in a very unique situation in the history of planet Earth and the human race. Now, it is not uncommon for people to be able to have interdimensional journeys, but it is very different, very alien, if you will, for somebody in 3D to be able to have a two-way back and forth interaction between higher dimensions and 3D. So up until this point in time, what people had to do in order to go to other dimensions is they had to have a near-death experience. They had to be absolute masters of shamanic journeying to a level that very few humans ever got to. Or, as many people do today, which you'll find out as we talk more about it, you'll find it is unnecessary. As many people do today, they take hallucinogens like ayahuasca and mushrooms, things like that. But there is a difference. Even though people conflate nowadays, the term shamanism now has become equivalent to ingesting external substances like mushrooms and ayahuasca. And that's something new. If you go back to the 80s when neo-shamanism really started appearing and taking hold, they used the term shamanism in the way that the word was meant. The word shaman is a Siberian word, and it simply means priest. But the indigenous Siberian religion of Tengerism, the priests used drums to go into a state of trance so that they could communicate with spirits of the land, etc., etc. And the person who did that was called the shaman. So shaman became the word for what we would call animism, an animist priest who is able to interact, or priestess, who is able to interact and be a conduit for the spirit world. So this is the original term of shamans, but for the average person who takes some kind of hallucinogen, that doesn't necessarily make them a shaman. In fact, ideally, you want to have a shaman there, a master shaman who's able to protect you. Because, again, here's the difference. Interdimensional shamanic journey is completely safe. You don't have to worry about bringing things into 3 dimensions. You don't have to worry about anything like that. You don't have to worry about any of the wear and tear on your energy body or your nervous system or your physical body. That is a very real issue that has to be dealt with when you're dealing with ingesting these very powerful psychotropic substances. But even if, we're talking in the past, this is now, we're in a new stage. I'm here telling you that interdimensional shamanic journey meditation is something new. that human beings have not been able to do before. And it's surprisingly very effective and very simple. But it is so strange that until you can get your head around it, you may just walk right past it and not know that it's there. So the difference is that when people use hallucinogens, very powerful chemicals that have a strong impact on the chemicals in the brain, what ends up happening is that it's a one-way street. So you end up having to go into a very altered state of consciousness. Many times you're not even in your 3D consciousness at all. And then you go to a foreign dimension. And this is, people come back with the stories of how bizarre it is in these other dimensions and all of that. But it's a one-way street. And if we take out the dangers that are associated with it, which is that if you do it improperly, if you don't have the proper protection, there's a very real possibility that by cracking open your aura, you could let in other kinds of spirits or entities that are not so friendly. And that is one of the drawbacks. Again, that's why you do it with a shaman. You have a shaman there to protect you, to protect your aura while you crack your aura open and go to other dimensions. The shaman also acts as a conduit for the ancestor spirits or the beings of light, the other dimensional spirits, to come in and to communicate with you. And so this is why people doing this kind of stuff on their own, they're really, taking a risk. Now, let's just assume for argument's sake that all of those dangers are taken care of and the person is safe. Here's what I've come to find out about the difference between consciously doing an interdimensional shamanic journey as opposed to taking some kind of a substance that changes your brain chemistry so you can have an experience, even assuming that it works and you're safe. What I've found with the kinds of trips that people have, this isn't 100%, because sometimes these, when people use these kinds of chemicals, there's a karmic date. There's something that they have been destined to experience, and this is the way that they have been able to do it. But for many people, especially Westerners who are just trying desperately to have a deep spiritual experience, and they're doing these things on their own without any real understanding or direction, is that the trips that they have are very much focused on their lower self. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just to give you an example, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're a person who takes psychedelic substances, if you take psychedelic substances and you don't know what I mean when I talk about the lower self, that just shows you how dangerous and how misguided this is. So we have three selves. We have a higher self, we have a middle self, and we have a lower self. These are actual beings. That we are not one being in a body. We are a community of beings. There's three of us here, you and me. We have three selves. And each one of these selves has their own unique individual experience, and they interact with each other. Ideally, if you're new to my channel, go to my channel page and go to the playlists and watch the videos about the three selves. I have no shortage of videos about it. But the three selves ideally interact together and work as one. That is very unusual for the most part, especially nowadays, and as we're coming out of Kali Yuga, people, their selves are fragmented. This is why there's such a thing as soul retrieval. going and doing some kind of practice that retrieves somebody's soul. It means that one of their selves has become dislodged. And so the average person has a fragmented triune self. So when you're already fragmented, unless you're working with a qualified shaman who knows what they're doing and you're very clear on what you're doing, you're going to create more fragmentation. So my experience is that the average person who does psychedelics ends up completely experiencing the trip in their lower self. And the lower self is where your unconscious and your subconscious reside. Your lower self is where you have all of your karmic unresolved issues, all of your negative karmas. It's where you have all of the programming that occurred during your infancy and your toddlerhood and your childhood. All of the unresolved identity and ego issues, those are going to be in your lower self. And it is a fact that very many people go throughout their life completely, totally driven and operating from their lower self. Now, if your lower self has been cleaned, if you've been doing the work where you've faced your what people like to call their shadow self, and you have done the work to align your higher self and your middle self with your lower self, then your lower self acts like a servant. It acts like an extremely powerful workhorse. Your lower self actually has the ability to create your three-dimensional reality. Now, this is why we've got people who, no matter how hard they try, they can't make any money. No matter how hard they try, they can't have relationships. That's because their lower self is fragmented. It is acting contrary to what you actually want because it's been programmed wrong. You have all kinds of wrong assumptions in there that work against you, self-sabotage. So this is what I've seen. When people take psychedelics, much of the time, not all the time, but much of the time, they are really just running around in their own narcissistic lower self. They're in another dimension. They're experiencing another reality, but they're experiencing it through their fragmented, warped narcissism. And so when they come back, I remember just recently watching a video of a guy who talked about taking a trip. He was at his friend's house and he took a bunch of, I don't know what it was, DMT or something. And he talked about this really intense trip that he had, which was actually not a very pleasant sounding trip. Without getting into the details, it was very obvious to me that what he had done is he had met his ego, his lower self ego, his narcissistic ego. And when we deal with ourselves from our narcissistic ego, it's always negative. And so he had a very negative experience, even though he was really tripped out on this. And this is what's coming from everybody people who love David Icke, for instance. If you think David Icke is telling you the truth, when you hear him talk about shape-shifting reptilians who feast on the blood of infants underneath pizza parlors under the earth, and that sounds like reality to you, and you feel justified in the fear that you carry with you, then that means that you're operating from that fragmented, narcissistic lower self, which is full of fear. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there isn't a psychopathic cabal running the world. There is. But the difference is I have no fear of them. I have zero fear of them. But doesn't mean that they're not a real issue. And everybody listening to me, you have the ability to be completely free of the influence of the narcissistic cabal. If you want to call them reptilians, you can call them whatever you want. If you want to be completely free of their influence forever, you can. But the answer is to be able to unify your three selves. So, we have an unusual, very unusual new experience. The good news is We are entering into a period where those who choose to can get a hack. You can get a jump start. It would take, just to give you an example, in the past 6 months, since I've been working directly with higher dimensional beings on a daily basis, the amount of shifting that has occurred within me, I'm going to estimate would probably take at least 5 to 10 lifetimes. I've had 5 to 10 lifetimes worth of karmic reshuffling and realignment. It has been a very challenging and a very wonderful and very strange experience, very empowering. But there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I've worked through karmic issues with family members who have passed away. I've worked through karmic issues dating back tens of thousands of years. I've gone back in time. I've merged timelines and merged selves and all kinds of really crazy stuff in a completely conscious frame of mind. And the only reason I've been able to do that is because we have entered this new phase where the Earth has started to shift. The electromagnetic field surrounding the Earth is going through a huge transformation. The poles are shifting. The electromagnetic field is weakening and morphing in very, very strange ways. That electromagnetic field is actually the protective bubble that kept Earth in 3D space-time. If you're a follower of Norse religion, you know that we live in one of the 9 worlds, and my Viking ancestors called the world that we live in Midgard, or Middle Yard. You've heard it called Middle Earth. But Midgard, or Middle Yard, it actually meant enclosure. It meant fortress. So Earth was called the Middle Fortress. The actual fortress, the walls of the fortress, was the electromagnetic field. That's what kept Middle Earth, Middle Earth. It's what kept the other dimensions from coming in and in other words, without the enclosure of the middle yard, without the guard enclosing the middle Earth, you could be walking down the street, you could see a higher dimensional being, you could see a lower dimensional being, you could see a ghost, you could see the past, you could see the future, and it would be such a jumbling of different worlds that human beings wouldn't be able to function. This is why shamans were so needed back then, and it was a very unusual experience. Only somebody who had been touched by the gods would have the ability to see through those different dimensional doorways. But what's happening now is that the average person is going to have the ability to do that. And the reason for that is because the electromagnetic field is shifting. And it's shifting because Earth is moving to a higher dimensional space. So what's happening now is that you can make the decision to connect to higher dimensional master beings, higher dimensional beings of light, who will upgrade you. They will, and I'm kidding you not, that's the word that they use for me. Sometimes when they show up, they say, we're giving you an upgrade. And I know I'm going to be in for a long night. Because what'll happen is, as I'm, in bed sleeping, beings are going to be showing up and, jolting me with energy, and all kinds of, I'll be in and out of time frames and timelines, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. And so when they say that to me, we're giving you an upgrade, I know I'm in for a very interesting experience. And they're doing that because the time has come for 3D Earth to come to an end. 3-dimensional Earth has been an experiment in consciousness. You have volunteered. You have volunteered as an infinite being of light yourself, a soul. You volunteered to come and incarnate into a 3-dimensional body in a three-dimensional world in order to learn more about what happens when you put certain stresses on consciousness. What happens to consciousness under certain stressful situations? And let's be real, living in planet Earth is extremely stressful. There's nobody that says that living on Earth is easy. We can have, if we follow certain practices and understandings about reality, we can have a great life. We can heal and work through the challenges. But for people who don't know or don't put the effort into it, you can be pretty sure that three-dimensional Earth is going to be a very stressful place. So that experiment has come to an end. Now, for people who have passed away, like most of my family has passed away, they're lucky because they get to sit back and watch the shift happen. And when they decide to come back to Earth, they're going to come back to a much more pleasant, beautiful place where people get along, where there's harmony, health, there won't be any violence, there won't be any banks, there won't be any government, there won't be any people stealing from you, harming you. They'll be able to incarnate back onto a really beautiful, peaceful, Eden type of a world, which is where we are headed. And when we are in this new version of Earth, human beings are going to then be able to take all of the experiences that they've had in 3D, lower vibrational 3D Earth, and use them to manifest. So we're heading into a time where people who are connected to themselves and have done the work will be able to manifest things out of thin air. Manifest timelines for themselves, without any thinking, without really putting any effort into it. So I'm getting ahead of myself here, but interdimensional shamanic journey is really a way of, imagine what life was like before cell phones. I can remember, I was there. Before cell phones, you had to pick up a phone off the wall and either push some buttons or dial some stuff. And if you were lucky, towards the end, you might get a box with a cassette in it that might record your message, and maybe they'll hear your message. But most of the time, if nobody's on the other end, you don't get anything. You couldn't call from your car. You had to go find some place that had a phone on the wall. I mean, it was just a lot of work to make a phone call. And now we have this thing called cell phone. And the cell phone, not only can you call people, but you can text people. You can just simply text whatever it is you want to say, and they immediately get it. You can have conversations, relationships. A new technology came along which revolutionized communication for people. You have video chat, video calls, stuff that even, back in the 60s, in Star Trek, even guys during the Star Trek, they couldn't do that. They had this flip phone. That was the best they had. A communicator was a flip phone, but they couldn't use it to do video chat or video call. They couldn't text. They had to, they had a little knob on it to, try and get the radio signal in. So you have stuff that's far more advanced than what Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock had. So apply that to what interdimensional shamanic journey meditation is. It's connecting directly to the light being masters of higher dimensions, fifth dimension and above, who will respond to your very simple meditative request to communicate. And they will work with you at your pace, knowing exactly what you need and how you need it. And I can't even begin to tell you the crazy stuff that is coming for us. One of the things that's coming for human beings, I don't know when, but what is coming for human beings at some point is that we are going to be connected to everybody, energetically, psychically. You won't have to text. You can simply literally think about your wife or your husband or your kids or somebody, and you can simply think a thought They will not only get it, they'll feel it in their body. They'll know exactly what it was that you wanted to say, what you wanted to speak. You'll be able to send and receive feelings. You know, right now, if you have a really strong feeling towards somebody, maybe, you know, in the air, you might feel some love in the air or some, you know, whatever the feeling is. But there will come a point where you can simply have a feeling and send it to somebody. And the feeling that you have, the love that you have, the joy, the peace, whatever, will be directly received by that person in real time. You will be able to communicate with higher dimensional beings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I kid you not. I'm experiencing it. If I take at face value what I've been told and I put it with my experiences, they've already hooked me up to that kind of stuff with them. And if I think about it, like if I try and figure it out, it can get really confusing. And I might even start getting like, what is going on? What are you guys doing? Why? If I try and figure it out in 3D terms, I can get very confused. If I take it at face value, then it's a continuing communication and relationship on multiple levels: emotional, verbal, all kinds of ways. And all of you are different. But imagine if you turned your body into a cell phone. So instead of having to, you know, pick something up and dial some numbers, or like they used to do, pick it, or before that, all you could do was write a letter and hope somebody got it. Imagine being able to interact with the universe to the same level that we do now with cell phones and the internet, because that's what's waiting for us. And anyway, we could go on and on and on, but I've just launched a new meditation course. I've just uploaded the first meditation. What I'm going to be doing in this course is I will be taking you through guided shamanic journeys. And you'll have to experience it for yourself, but my goal is to be able to give you access to the things that I have had access to without having to have your complete reality just totally just destroyed in front of you without knowing what the hell is going on. I'm going to take you through it step by step so you know exactly what's happening and you know what you're about to experience, and you'll have somebody who's gone through it who can tell you what, you know, when you get this feeling in your body, when you get this energetic sensation, here's what it means, here's what's happening. That's what I'm going to be doing, and it's the Interdimensional Shamanic Journey Meditation Course, which if you go to thunderwizard.com, scroll around, you'll see it. Now, my suggestion is to subscribe to the 90-day Lightning Qigong, because that's only $1 more per month. So, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. And the reason that I put them so close together is because if you really want to master what is coming, if you want to be one of those people that is ahead of the curve and you're like, listen, most people are going to be stumbling through this huge shift. For some people, it's going to be incredibly difficult. It wouldn't surprise me if there would be people that end up in the emergency room when the shift hits. You know, if they're so, you know, we're talking about, you know, like murderers and drug addicts and, you know, really negative people. When that kind of love hits them, it's going to knock them flat on their ass, and it might put them out, put them in a coma for a while. You know, who knows? But if you want to be on the ahead of the curve, so when the fifth dimension hits, you can ride that wave and be able to handle it and know how to use that information, then I recommend doing the 90-day Lightning Qigong practices. Do those energy practices. Trust me, you'll thank me when the time comes. And then right below that is the Interdimensional Shamanic Journey Meditation Course. So when you subscribe to the Lightning Qigong, you have access to everything beneath it. So the one below that is the Interdimensional Shamanic Journey Meditation Course. Below that is the Manifestation Mastery Course. And below that is the Mastery of Shamanism course. Each one of those courses, I would be well within my rights to charge a heck of a lot of money for. But I don't. I want to make it available to people. And, this is a very simple subscription. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. Go to thunderwizard.com. Having said that, while I'm pitching myself, I am now going to start creating audiobooks. So I've already uploaded 6 audiobooks, and 5 of them are books I've already written. Some of them you already know. And you can see those here at audiobooks.thunderwizard.com. If you want to get a special link for each one of the books, take a look at this. Go ahead and, since this is going to be archived, you can pause this and write those down. But if you have a specific book in mind that you want to get, use those links there exactly as they're written. And that will give you access to the Audible page where you can get those. And when you get a new Audible membership, you get, I believe, 2 audiobooks for free for 30 days, and you can cancel if you want. And then after those 30 days, you get a third one, another audiobook for free, if I'm reading the rules right. So you'll see it when you go there. But you'll be doing me a favor if you use those links. And I don't really care one way or another, but I'm just getting the information out there. I've got another book coming, which will be first in print, and then it will be followed by an audiobook, and that's the Interdimensional Revolution, how to take down the elites. And that's the last thing I'll say. The most important thing about doing interdimensional shamanic journey meditations is that every single time you do it, you take a little bit of the power away from the psychopathic elite. Because what gives them their power is your obedience to them. That includes your anger as you fight against them. So if you're somebody that says, I don't obey them, I'm fighting them, I stormed the Capitol, you are still being manipulated by them. Every 3-dimensional tool that you use, whether it be politics, whether it be anger, whether it be revolution, whether it be violence, whether it be escape, whether it be, fear, all of these things are tools that they use to keep you trapped in 3D. There's only one way out. And the only way out of 3D is moving up to 5D. And the only way to move up to 5D is by reaching out to higher dimensions and asking for a lifeline. And when you do that, they will connect with you. And you can take this, when I first started doing this 6 months ago, I said, you can look in one of my first videos, I said, I'm going to take this as far as I can go with it. And I have a few times regretted that statement, because there have been times where it has been so bizarre and strange, and my 3D understanding, my 3D brain has been stretched and stretched beyond my understanding. And there have been a few days where I have been really just like, what the hell's going on? You don't have to have that experience. You can have it to whatever extent you want. But every single person that I've spoken with who has been doing these interdimensional shamanic journey meditations, you can also call it CE5. I like to call it shamanic CE5 because it's more than just sitting on your beach chair looking up at lights in the sky. Every single person who has done it, I have watched them transform immensely. Like there are some people, the transformation has been so unbelievable. There's no way they could have transformed to that degree in one lifetime. Impossible. And so I know, not only from me personally, but everybody that I've talked to who's put any effort into it, they've had tremendous transformation. So as always, I'm going to lay it out for you step by step, because that's one of the things we do here. And that's what this course is. Again, go to thunderwizard.com to get started with that. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps. The word question in all caps, not the whole question. Just the word question in all caps, and then write your honest question. And then if you have any feelings, I'll be happy to share those as well. Those are the 2 most important things. When you're dealing with higher dimensional beings, my experience is first and foremost, have a very clear question if you want some kind of an answer from them. Sometimes they're just there to give you energy and give you information, and they're not going to sit back and wait for a question. The rest of the time, it's going to be very important for you to be able to share an honest feeling. An honest feeling is, I'm afraid, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm excited, I'm curious, I'm confused. Not, I think Jesus was Lord. Those aren't feelings. Those are opinions. They don't need your opinions. They are on higher dimensions. They see everything in your dimension much better than you do. They don't care about, well, they care about your opinions. They don't need them. But they will respond to your feelings. They will help you resolve your unresolved karmic as well as just life feelings. These beings are what we would call spirit guides, angels, elves, fairies, whatever whatever religion you are, whatever you talk about, these higher beings of God, that's what these beings are. But they're revealing themselves to us in a direct way now, and you can contact them and interact with them directly. And I'll also be telling you in here how to learn how to interpret, because when you're communicated with through a dimensional barrier, it can get a little bit confusing and overwhelming. So I'll explain to you how you can best interpret the messages as they come through, but that'll be later on in the course. All right. So I'm trying to give you time to write your questions because it says there's 23 people watching, and so far there aren't any questions, so I'm giving you guys some time. So Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. He is one of my Vedic astrologers, and he, as you can see there in the chat, he has a bunch of services that he does. So go check him out at Vincent.thunderwizard.com. He has a feeling. He says, I feel tired after doing CE5 for several days in a row. Well, I understand that. So I felt that way too. It's getting easier for me to do it now on a daily basis. But for a while there, it was just knocking me out. Part of the reason is, number one, it's very concentrated energy that they have. So of course it's going to knock you out. It's also very cleansing and healing. So part of the symptoms of detox is to be tired. Part of it is that your brain, your mind is overwhelmed. It doesn't understand what's happening, and it has a hard time keeping up. And when that happens, we get tired. And so you don't have to do it every day. I don't recommend people needing to do it every day. I'm doing it every day, but that's, after me doing it for 6 months, I can sort of handle it now. I can get on with my life and do it every day. But even today, I did some CE5 meditation today, and it just wiped me out. And so it takes me a while to come back in my body, and it takes me a while to wake up. And it's extremely relaxing. I've never been so relaxed in my life. It's a deep, deep relaxation. And when your body buzzes with the energy, it's like you're just hooked up to this really cool, just like warm, fuzzy energy, and you just don't want to move. So cool. That is interdimensional energy. So he says, I feel tired after doing CE5 for several days in a row. Feels like I'm not getting any rest, and time speeds up. Like I just go to bed and wake up a few minutes later and it's already morning. Well, see what happens. Give it some time. And you won't bother me if you decide to do it once a week. There was a point in time when I was only doing it once a week for that very reason. So, listen to yourself and honor your body and let it recover, at its own pace. Just like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you don't go to the gym and work out for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. Arnold Schwarzenegger did that when he was getting ready for Mr. Olympia, but somebody just starting out doesn't do that. So same thing with CE5. Take it slowly and respect it. That's my suggestion. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I'm excited about the new audiobooks. I find them easier to digest because it's easier for me to learn through listening rather than reading. Thanks for sharing that experience, and that is my hope as well. That's why I'm doing it. A lot of people I've found listen to my YouTube videos while they're going to sleep. I don't understand that. Why me ranting and raving about something makes you feel like you can fall asleep, I don't get it, but great. But I do think that when I'm giving an audiobook reading, I give much more understanding, because the way that I talk, if I put that down in words, that's hard to read, because I tend to have very concentrated concepts that ends up me talking in run-on sentences and lots of going off on tangents. And when you put that in a book, it's hard to read. And when I'm editing and proofreading my writing, it's hard for me, and I'm the one that wrote it. But talking it through is much different, and I think it does, like you said, I think it gets through. So I'm really hoping that these audiobooks will take off. Sintana with Paradise Unlimited Honest question. What is the symbol called that is on your Advanced Rune Shamanism book? What symbol is that? I'm going to go looking for it right now. Because I don't remember. Once I write books, I tend to just forget that they've ever existed. Advanced Rune Shamanism. That is an Ayeshyalmer. So you can go look this up. That is an Ayeshyalmer with, and it's been altered a little bit, so it's called it looks like this. It looks like Agish Jelmer. Agish Yalmer. It means the helmet of awe. And it's been altered because, as you can see, I have all of the runes lined up all around it. So if you take all the runes off of it, you have this thing called the Ayeshyalmer. I've got a video on my channel, which is one of my first videos. Go back and watch it. And where I talk about the Ayeshyalmer and what's called the Ashtanga Yantra. And the connections, the thousands of years of, this symbol has been in the Indo-European spiritual tradition, whether you're in India or whether you're in, Northwestern Europe, it's the same symbol, has the same meaning. What else? Agent of the Universe question. How will this shift affect video games? I have no idea. What a strange question, because I'm anticipating this video game. Oh my God. So Agent of the Universe, I love you. I'm so glad you're on my channel, but sometimes you ask the strangest questions. I have no interest in video games. And I'm sorry to tell you that there's a good chance that when we hit the shift, nobody's going to need a video game. Video games are going to be like, again, we have cell phones, and it would be like going back to, the old 1920s phone where you had to ring and talk to the operator. Can you give me so-and-so's phone? So I'm glad that you've got a video game that you like, but come on, man. You can go beyond that. It's such a superficial question. What kind of video games are going to be in I honestly have no idea, and I don't care. What else? Nothing else. No other questions. I guess we're done. Are we done? So I've already done all of the selling. What else can we talk about? Let me give you, once again, the links. So in case you want to check out the audiobooks, there are the links. We've got extraterrestrials are coming to Earth, and you can see the link for that. Type it out exactly as it is. Otherwise, you'll end up somewhere else. Odin says Jesus was a coward. Now, looking back on it, Odin says Jesus was a coward. That interaction I had with Odin, I have no doubt that Odin may very well be an extraterrestrial being of light. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, that is the most important book that I have. If you master that book, you can master life. Rune Shamanism, that's also one of my favorite books. Happiness. That was the second book I ever wrote, and it didn't go anywhere because I didn't promote it. And looking back on it, it was actually it has some very profound things in there that gave me the basis for the Shamanic Secret Commandment. It's actually a really good book. Go check it out. And then Wealth Shaman was my first book that I ever wrote. It also has tremendously powerful shamanic journey exercises that will help you understand what's going on with your finances and manifestation of wealth. All right, again, I'm giving you guys time to write questions. Nobody's writing a question, so I guess we're done. All right, that's it, my friends. Thank you for showing up. I look forward to continuing with this subject. And again, going to thunderwizard.com and subscribing to the Lightning Qigong. That will give you access to the Interdimensional Shamanic Journey meditation course. Okay, a couple of things that popped up here. Agent of the Universe, honest feeling. I understand not everyone cares about video games, but I do and feel saddened. I don't know what you're saying to me. Look, you're sad that I didn't want to. I need you to step back a second and think about the question you asked. I know you're really emotionally attached to it, but you're asking me about a freaking video game, and we're talking about a complete shift to another level. I mean, it's just not in the realm of importance. It's okay that you're into video games, but it's okay that I'm not. And, it's good to have questions that all of us are going to be able to benefit from. So I'm sorry that saddened you, but there it is. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Question: are you up for a meditation, or are you talking about your new course on interdimensional? Right now, I'm not doing any meditations today. Again, I had an upgrade a few days ago that I am still recovering from, and I do not want to. By the way, I did a shamanic guided journey on the course. I recorded it and uploaded it today. So every time I do those group guided journeys, it pretty much wipes me out. So not today. I'm not going to do a live meditation today. Timothy Zoll, honest feelings, CE5 2 to 3 times a week, along with daily energy work, Qigong, 3-1, school breath, has given me deeper sleep, profound dreams, better self-understanding, and sobriety. Me too. I've had a very similar experience. Thanks for sharing that. Santana with Paradise Unlimited. Honest question. How can asked to deliberately heal past family trauma to light beings? Asking because I'm not great with terms. I don't know if I understand your question. How can you ask to deliberately heal past family trauma? Look, you don't have to get it right. It's not unlike me, where you have to write things out specifically so I understand what you're saying, because I'm in 3D and so are you. So we're separated by this gulf of isolation. They already know. The only thing that is necessary is that you show your willingness to have them help you when you ask. So just ask however you need to ask. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to heal, you just say, you just start going in the direction. Trust me, they know exactly what to do and where to go. You can also just say, can you help me with this? Can you help me heal this basic issue? You can just say family issues. And, by giving them permission, they can then come in and then start working with you in whatever way is best for you. So you don't have to get the question right. You just have to have a clear intent, and they'll be more than happy to take it from there. Flux Pavilion question. Should we do the close down routine after the 30 Sage rune meditation? Have you asked me that before? I have the feeling that you've asked me that before. You should always do a close down after any kind of meditation, any kind of energy work, mantra meditation. Always do the close down. What else? Nothing else? Na Khan, welcome to the channel. If you have a question, look above you. You see Flux Pavilion wrote the word question in all caps and then wrote a question. So if you have a question, you can ask me that. So the other thing that I would like to do first off is welcome you to the channel. I am so glad that you're here. It looks to me like you're new. I would strongly encourage you to put some time into watching my videos. Go on to my thunderwizard.com YouTube homepage and go into the playlists and look for things that you find interesting. Learn how to search within the channel, because then you'll know what kinds of questions I want to answer. It's also good to ask me questions about what I'm talking about. So if I've spent a half an hour talking about a subject, I kind of want you to ask me about that. The question you're asking me, what's my favorite shamanic stone? That is a question that has to do with Vedic astrology. I use a moonstone, but that's because in my Vedic astrological chart, moonstone is incredibly powerful. Your stone is going to be different. And if you want to figure out what that is, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and get a reading, and you'll find out for you what the best stone is. I also like it when you identify with your question. I want to know, why do you want to know what my favorite shamanic stone is? You obviously have a personal reason for that question. Let me know about that. That helps me to help you. The more I know about why you're asking a question, the better I can help you. That's it. We're all done. No more questions. Thanks, guys. Thanks for showing up. I wish you all the best. And keep your eyes peeled. Things are going to start getting very interesting. All right, that's it. See you guys next time.